the wrestling podcast that sets all other podcasts apart. Covering news from the world of WWE, AEW, TNA, and more. Your favorite weekly episodic podcast, Ramblers Unleashed, starts now.
Oh, it's your Saturday afternoon delight. Welcome back to Ramblers Unleashed and a 4th of July holiday edition of Ramblers Unleashed. And hope your holiday is going well. Happy 4th to you, even though we're a couple days away from the 4th of July. Hope you had a lot of fun shooting off fireworks and pool parties and barbecues galore. Are we ready to talk some wrestling today? Because I think we are. This is the review show or the prediction show also for Money in the Bank that is later on today. And let's introduce the rest of the Ramblers. First and foremost, let me bring up the missing Rambler from last week. The Ramblers Bureau of Investigations, or the RBI, did a really marvelous job of finding our boy Baron and bringing him back after he recovers from his imprisonment and torture by Liv Morgan. Baron, I have to ask you, brother, how are you feeling? Okay, can you give us details of the experience?
I don't think the details of what went down can be put on the air, because let me tell you, there would be some allegation. No, it was great. I never wanted to be kidnapped more in my life than in that moment. And as you can see, I'm no longer the super high guy. I am Liv Morgan's number one fan.
Oh, are you her daddy?
Just number one fan.
I'd like to point out that we've had to send the RBI out 3 times because Baron tried to run back to Liv after we rescued him.
Yeah, apparently it's a problem staying in the basement for too long uninvited. So I said, okay,
the RBI came back to me and they said, look, we're having problems catching Baron because every time we try to save him or recover him, he keeps running back. And I'm like, look, I don't care what you have to do. I will pay you extra. You have to bring Baron back because we have to predict Money in the Bank. You tell Liv.
This is the only reason I'm here, okay? The only reason I came back was for the prediction show, or I would still be in the same spot, guys. So you're welcome, all right? I'm here.
Well, we are so happy that you are back. Plus, you have a $9.99 moment today on the show, and we will dive into that in just a few. Next up, the man who really needs no introduction, the neighborhood heel. Yeah, he's a man who also cleans up rather nicely with more wrestling knowledge in his pinky finger than anyone else in the biz, and the only guy that I know that pops bigger for Joel Gertner than any of us. You can address him as Mr. Magus, but we call him the mighty Maximus Magus. By the way, golfers clap for both the Baron and Max Magus. I forgot your golfer's clap, Baron. I'm sorry about that, brother. Max, how we doing today, man?
Oh, we're doing much better today. I wasn't kicked out of an arena for demanding Aldis give me answers. Instead, I decided just to show up here on time and do the show. Besides, I don't know if Toronto wanted me there.
Oh, Toronto wants you. Toronto loves you, Max. I don't know why. I don't know why you would think that. Toronto absolutely adores Max Magus.
Well, I hear there's a significant portion of the IWC that lives in Toronto. And you know how I feel about the IWC. Well, they feel the same way about me.
Piss on the IWC. But we're happy that you're here, Max. We absolutely love you. And finally, let's introduce the producer of our show, the man, the myth, the absolute legend, for without his tech wizardry and the gizmos that he brings to the show, plus his vast wrestling knowledge, and of course, his missus, because she graciously gifts us his time to do the show. The host is
collection.
Yes, and his collection of figures. Absolutely. They always
it's a bit of a hot mess right now, but it's getting there. It's always a work in
word
progress.
being hot.
Yes. The host of Smash His Podcast and Total Nonstop Impact with the latest TNA reviews on any other podcast on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the great and infamous J-Bone. Golfers clap. J-Bone, how you feeling this week, brother?
Good, man. It's been a good Independence Day weekend, or some people like to say Merry Christmas. We had the fam over last night, all the kids, which was really nice. And one of our daughters has a new boyfriend, so he got introduced to the craziness that is this family.
Did he get grilled?
He did, but it wasn't it wasn't like, hung upside down and torture something. No, it was me after like 5 mimosas saying, all right, this is your favorite wrestler and why is it
I was gonna say, I bet you asked what your favorite wrestler is.
Is he a wrestling fan?
He doesn't watch it on a regular basis, but he and his now new girlfriend, our daughter Cassie, they go over to friends' houses and they discuss it, and they are more the fans like we are, watch stuff on a weekly basis and such. Mm-hmm. So they're starting to like learn. They're like, oh, I like this guy, I like this guy, we don't like this guy. They're starting to recognize different things.
Yeah.
And
turn him on to this show, man.
So I told them, I said, that's part of being in a family is you got to subscribe to the channel. So we're working on it.
Listen, J-Bone, I know that new relationships are very important. I also know that setting the boundaries and guidelines for new relationships are very important. Do we need to have an all uncles meeting with him?
Oh no, I don't want to be that mean. I put it this way. Our daughter was grilled quite heavily with religion and politics and such, and it's like, oh no, we like this kid. We don't want to scare him away. So it's like, no.
You don't want you don't want to sick Uncle Max Magus on anybody.
Uncle Buck.
I'll just be sitting there shining my steel chair up real nice. Hey, yo, what you think of the bad guy?
Yeah.
You know who the bad guy is? J-Bone, get the DVD. Let's go. Do the ladder match. That way we can show him brother versus brother after.
It's got to be weird though, like, because I guess never in my life have I ever truly. Okay, I take it back. Meet the like parents or anything along those lines. Cause I've been with my girl for
8 years,
14, 15, 16, God knows how long. Anyways, like I've never really ever had to go and meet, her parents. Like, so that would be awkward as hell. I've never really had to deal with that.
Right.
So good for him.
I met one of my exes. Her dad he was security at the time. He did armed security for King Soopers and the other, places around here. And this man would sleep with a tricked out gun right by his head. The thought being that if anybody broke into his house, and don't get me wrong, I think it's brilliant. They see that gun laying out, they grab it, they go to use it, and then they're the ones that are punished for it because that tricked out gun was intended to backfire on them and hurt them.
Eep.
So,
I said eep.
Yeah. So, needless to say, knowing what I knew about him before I met him, I was a little nervous when I met him. But listen, meeting the parents can actually be fun if you're meeting the right person's parents. That guy was a great guy. He was very disappointed when his daughter and I broke up. I missed the guy. But there have been some parents over the years that I was like, I'm going to J-Bone's house. I can't deal with you guys.
That's funny.
I remember
we had a blast last night. My wife cooked an amazing roast with vegetables. We didn't do any grilling out. I am grill less right now, but it was still just nice to have everyone over, and meet the new kid, and it was good stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm glad everybody had a fantastic 4th of July. Some new faces in the chat. Greetings from Argentina, saith Damien, and welcome. Timmy, how you doing, buddy? And Paulie Walnuts, how you doing? Bell's Boy, good to see you again. And
Bell's Boy, what's up, man?
Yeah, what's up, brother? And if you have the notion, go ahead and share this link out with your friends, because we are going to talk some wrestling news. Plus, we're going to predict our upcoming PLE Money in the Bank 2024 from Toronto. And we have a really special announcement, too, coming up regarding the prediction show. Should I just tell everybody now just to get it out of the way, J-Bone?
Oh, sure, dude.
Okay, so tonight, right after the PLE is over of Money in the Bank, not only are we going to be live for the review show on Smash This Podcast, but we are also going to co-stream on our Facebook page, Ramblers Unleashed. So what I want you to do is I want you to pick up your phone or go to your Facebook account right now and like the page, follow the page. Just search Ramblers Unleashed on your phone or computer or whatever the case may, whatever you have, and like the page, okay? And we will give you the links as soon as possible. There is the page. You can see it on the Baron's phone there, Ramblers Unleashed on Facebook.
It is in the description of the video, so it's easy for everyone to find. Yeah.
There you go. Click the URL in the description of this video, but please make sure that you are following our Facebook page, and we'll go probably live 30 minutes after the PLE is over. J-Bone, is that normally the time that we go on?
What's the time for the bell for this show tonight? I'm so out of loop with the shows because I swear since Mania we have not had a show, a WWE show at night. It's all been like 12 or 1 o'clock. Right?
So
they've been all over the place.
Pre-show kicks off 4:30 Mountain Time. As we've discussed on previous episodes of Ramblers, it's the only time zone that matters, Mountain Time, where I'm at. Which means that the main show will start at 5 p.m. Mountain Time.
Okay, that's great for Mountain Time, but
so that's for 6 o'clock for us.
For Central Time,
6 o'clock our time.
Yeah, that's 6 o'clock. So the pre-show
So it's a little earlier. The pre-show is.
I'm gonna teach you guys a quick rule of thumb. Wherever they are, they start at 7 p.m. So Toronto is Eastern time, so they're starting 7 p.m. Eastern time. That's not including the pre-show. Typically, the pre-show starts an hour before. For whatever reason, they're only doing a 30-minute pre-show today. But since it starts at 7 p.m. local time, subtract 2 hours, you get to the most important time zone, and that's 5 o'clock is when it's starting.
And Bell's Boy, you and Max are gonna have it out. Pacific time, saith Bell's Boy is the only time zone that matters.
Listen, Bell's Boy, I got a lot of respect for you, my friend, but Max Magus is the important one here, and that's why Mountain Time is the only time zone that matters.
But then you have
three guys.
Central time zone that saith Central time is the only time zone.
Yeah, but the only important one of you three is Baron, you know?
But then Baron should trump everything. Baron should trump everything, man.
Yeah.
He doesn't trump Magus, all right?
Yes, absolutely.
But listen, while you're over there on the Facebook page, liking, following, subscribing, all that good stuff, check out that content we shared. There's a lot of funny stuff like Will Sasso finding out why you don't make fun of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Is it Will Sasso or Will Fafo?
Well, it's Will Fatso. He and I got that in common.
Well, no, I mean Fafo, meaning in F around and find out.
Yes, Fafo.
Oh, all right. Well, welcome everybody, and please go like our Facebook page. Don't forget to follow our X account too at Ramblers Pod, at the Ramblers Pod. Let's dive into some wrestling news before we get into.
Can I answer his question first?
Go ahead. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the question. Max, Bell's boy asked Max, what happened to your hair?
It was an elimination match. I won. The hair lost. It got eliminated.
Wait, what? Is that how that goes?
That's exactly how it goes around here. Don't question the Magus.
I was gonna say that's not how mine went, but that's another story for another time.
You almost lost your fight. That's on you.
I asked my daughter Morgan. She just she went to school for cosmetology, and she's been working at a couple different studios. It's the same company, just different locations. And she's finally getting her own chair for her own clients. So she's, getting her book ready for stuff like that. And I was like, I congratulated her. I'm like, I'm so proud of you. I know you're going to knock it out of the park. And I said, I want to be your first male customer. I said, can you wax my head? And she said, no. And I said, do you do Brazilians? She goes, no, Dad, ew.
How many is a Brazilian?
You don't know what a Brazilian is?
No, I know what a Brazilian is. But there's an old blonde joke where she goes, how many is a Brazilian?
Oh, how many is a Brazilian?
Well, congratulations to your daughter, J-Bone. And that's awesome, man. That's pretty cool, man. Golfers clap. Golfers clap. There we go. Let's
all
dive
the kids
in.
are starring today.
Absolutely. Let's dive into some wrestling news, and this is part of our question of the day, which we want you to leave your thoughts and comments in the comments section, no matter where you're watching this, and tell us what you think. Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker, they are about to have a big feud, as AEW fans were surprised to see Britt Baker make her debut on her debut return, rather, on Forbidden Door. And then she made an even bigger return on Dynamite following the pay-per-view event. She immediately confronted Mercedes Moné about her double championship after Mercedes won. And on Dynamite, it was Moné who interrupted Baker's promo, leading to a rather heated exchange. Baker and Moné traded insults, including dropping the bitch insult. The confrontation has set the stage for a highly anticipated match between the two, exciting many fans. Dr. Britt Baker is back in AEW after a 10-month hiatus, and she's been thrust into the title picture against dual championship Mercedes Moné. Tommy Dreamer on Busted Open Radio actually praised AEW for orchestrating Baker's comeback, calling it the biggest draw for the women's division. So this is the question of the day that I'm posing on to our listeners and to you guys too. Could Britt Baker be the saving grace of the women's division in AEW? Make sure you comment below, and we might pull your comment and up and put it on the air and talk about it. Let's start off with the Baron. Baron, do you think that Britt Baker's return could help the women's division in AEW? Because we just talked about this last week. It was Medusa who said that they didn't want to train, they didn't want to do anything. So, do you think Britt Baker could change that? Could she turn it around?
Oh, absolutely not, because Mercedes Sasha Banks was supposed to be the saving grace of the women's division. And let me tell you, every time that she has an interview of any sort, I'm pissed because she's absolutely frustrating. The only woman that is on that roster that is holding that entire division on its own is Toni Storm. There is no other one on that roster that is doing a damn thing worthy in my mind. Mercedes does nothing for me. I think Britt Baker is great. I think she's good in the ring. I think she's great on the mic. Is she going to save that division? If Mercedes didn't save that division, I'm not sure anybody could possibly do that. But I think the breakout lady on that entire roster is Toni Storm, and it's not even close.
That's a good point, though. But I think Britt Baker is a bit of a different ilk than Mercedes Moné, Max, because Mercedes, she comes from WWE, And to me, she just has a bit of an arrogance about her, saying, I've seen like recent interviews with her saying that, she's pretty much it for AEW. That's why everybody comes to the show. And I just totally disagree. I don't think Mercedes Moné is any good anymore, honestly. So do you think Britt Baker could be it? Do you think that between her and Toni Storm, they could save and turn around the women's division, since clearly Mercedes Moné can't do it?
First off, I felt bad for Britt seeing that this match was coming until I remembered something. First off, you guys know what happens in 13 days? This goes for all you listeners out there, too, because you should know this. 13 days from today is my birthday, all right?
Aww.
So, 1 year ago, 2023, on my birthday, Britt Baker said something that makes me no longer feel bad for her about the current story she's in. AEW star Britt Baker has revealed that she would like to face former WWE Women's Champion Mercedes Moné, formerly known as Sasha Banks, at AEW NJPW Forbidden Door 2024. Baker also noted that since Mercedes is currently working for New Japan Pro Wrestling, which she was at that time, she can easily work with another promotion as she is not exclusive to them. Now, I like Britt Baker. I think Britt Baker is immensely talented. I think she's been held back a little bit by her opponents. If you watch a Natty Neidhart match, Natty is one of the most talented women in WWE, but she can only perform as well as her opponent is capable of, right? And I think Britt is one of those people. She's immensely talented, but can only put on a match as good as her opponent is capable of. Now, I don't think that that's the only problem going into this, but I do think that if they stop pushing Mercedes Moné, I think that the AEW women's division could thrive again. I think that's their biggest mistake right now, is giving her this big of a push and letting her have as much creative control as she does. That is a big problem. I would think that after WCW, they would realize you can't give them this much creative control, but hey, what do I know?
Yeah, I am not a fan of how much creative control Mercedes Moné has with her character, but then again, that doesn't surprise me, seeing that everybody has pretty much creative control over their own destiny in AEW. J-Bone, do you think that with Britt Baker back in the picture, that she and Toni Storm could maybe rally up the women's division and bring it back to a new height and a new excitement? Or do you think that this women's division is just going to continue to be lackluster?
It definitely is going to help. It's going to take some time to see exactly what people say about it. The real test is I don't think it's going to be like, the number of viewers. I don't think that matters in this situation, but what do people say online, and I never put my opinion online. I learned that a long time ago. Don't put your opinion online, because there's going to be some jackass out there going, oh yeah, well, you think that way, well, you're wrong, and blah, 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 blah. So I promote my shit, and that's it. But look, I know that she has been missed. A lot of people had missed her, had talked about her. I, for one, from day one, have enjoyed her journey, because when she started out, she was pretty green, but she is someone that stuck around even through injuries, put the work in even during the pandemic, showed up in her wheelchair along with who was with her, Rebel, like Reba, whatever. I can't think of what her name is.
Yeah.
And, made sure she got TV time, even though she couldn't perform in the ring. So that really made me a big fan of hers, and I respected her a lot for that. So I think fans appreciating her journey are absolutely going to be tuning in and checking out this new phase, this new chapter for her, you know. So
Okay.
I think the match is going to be great. I think the promo starting out was very strong on Dynamite. So and I'm glad they kept it to just something really simple. She showed up, she didn't say nothing on the pay-per-view. They saved it for Dynamite, which I think is smart. So
very smart. Yeah. What sayeth you in the chat? Let us know. Leave your thoughts and comments down below, and we could share them later on in the show tonight. And let's stay on the topic of Dynamite, because it was a big show for them going out of Forbidden Door. AEW addressed Daniel Garcia's status after the MJF attack, which I don't know if anybody else called it, but I called it. I said MJF's going to turn heel. He's going to do it. Daniel Garcia suffered a brutal attack at the hands of Maxwell Jacob Friedman on Dynamite, leaving many fans wondering how the company would follow up on this incident. Now we have an update on his condition after the attack following the explosive conclusion of the special beach break edition of AEW Dynamite at Wintrust Arena in Chicago. All Elite Wrestling addressed Garcia's status on social media. The company provided an update on the storyline injuries Garcia sustained from MJF's attack, which left him bloodied and on a stretcher after the episode went off. Garcia is currently in a unique position regarding his contract status, which they said he's recovering fine. He's okay. But his deal is set to expire in October. And while no new deal has been signed as of yet, the expectation is that Tony Khan will secure him with a new contract. Did anyone else call the MJF heel turn? Anyone else?
I mean, when you said that in our chat, I was like, yeah, I think that could happen. I think MJF is just a natural heel, right? I mean, that's kind of what he is, but I think it all happened a little too fast. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like,
thank you.
He came in with this Triple H return, the fucking denim jacket. Like, the crowd was hot. Like, they're behind him. I mean, he's obviously the face of this company by the longest shot. There ain't nobody even closer, and I don't care. I'll argue all day with you. He's the face of the company. When this company, in my mind, really has struggled to have a baby face. I feel like everybody's a bad guy in a sense on the show. But I feel like he could have been that baby face to kind of maybe elevate him, because no matter what, wrestling has to have the ultimate heel and they have to have the ultimate baby face. That's how wrestling works.
I think the ultimate baby face now is Will Ospreay, who after the attack, Will came out finally after his match with Daniel Garcia, came back out to fend off MJF from attacking Garcia anymore, I, for one, was really impressed with, I wasn't as so much impressed with Garcia's in-ring work against Will Ospreay. I think Garcia has a long way to go. He's getting there. It's just not very solid as of yet, but the way that he took the bumps from MJF on Dynamite during the attack was really impressive. Max, did you catch the match with Will Ospreay and Daniel Garcia, and did you stick around for the attack, or what were your thoughts, man?
Listen, I give my opinion on stuff, but I honestly haven't seen AEW much lately. I watch once in a while, but first off, I'm going to give you a quick history lesson. The terms babyface and heel. The reason, the heel is obviously the bad guy, but do you know why they use the word babyface for the good guy? There was a time in wrestling, and this has gone away, as MJF has proven when he's done his heel stuff, when the term babyface was because the face, the good guy, had a clean-shaven face, and the bad guy always had some sort of facial hair, and back then, that was so you could tell them apart. Mm-hmm. Now, I wanted to give you guys a quick history lesson, because I know our listeners enjoy learning more about the business when they have the opportunity, and you guys need to learn more about the business, because, damn, I feel like I'm the only one that knows most of this stuff up here on this show. One of these days, Dizzy and I are going to sit down, and I'm just going to go over the whole thing with them. It's necessary, but that day is not today. But look, MJF coming back from an extended absence for an injury, you expect he's going to come in and get the face pop because that's how wrestling fans are. Oh my God, this guy's been gone for months. We love this guy. And then Jericho did this in WWE. Remember, he made that return. The fans are cheering, and he's out there. He starts to speak. Then he goes around and plays to the fans. And then he finally walked out because he wasn't there to be the face. But they had to let the fans get that face reaction out of the way. MJF had to come back to the face pop. So they decided to play into that. But this man is naturally, you said it, Baron, you got to have that top face and you got to have that top heel. The problem is MJF is not any good at being a top face. Why? Because this is a man that lives the heel persona even in his personal life. If you have ever seen his tweets to his parents, he's a heel to his parents too. It doesn't matter who it is. This man is so good at being the heel 24/7. He is on that game. He had to eventually go back to being a heel. That's unfortunate. That's the rules. That's just because that's how damn good at it he is. I was a face once for like 10 minutes at a wrestling show. It sucked. The fans hated it. As soon as I got the opportunity, I went back to being the bad guy because that's what I do.
Well, you also have to look at what happened with Roman Reigns and John Cena on WWE. They wanted Roman as a heel. They wanted John Cena as a heel because they were tired of seeing him as a babyface. But I think what we're all setting up for, what AEW is setting up for, is a big match between Will Ospreay and MJF, and that could possibly lead into Will Ospreay putting up his international title against MJF, maybe at All In or whatever the next pay-per-view is. I believe it is All In August. Go ahead, Baron.
So that's where the problem comes in that I do not understand, and we're gonna go ahead and go on the $9.99 rant, man. Here we go. Because it does not make sense to me that MJF clearly there's nobody else on that show that is on his level when it comes to fan base, just on the mic, anything. He's the best thing they have, in my personal opinion. And by the way, listeners, this is all Baron's opinion. This is not opinion of the other three. This is the Baron's opinion. But see, that's what I don't understand. I'm so confused. So like, wrestling is, I love wrestling. I love watching wrestling matches, and I appreciate a good wrestling match. But the wrestling match has to make sense. It has to, or it's pointless, in my personal opinion, obviously. So if that is the case, Will Ospreay versus MJF, do you know how fast Will Ospreay transitioned from fighting the number one champion on the show, the AEW champion, Swerve, right? At Forbidden Door, they faced off for the title, and now we're moving into Will Ospreay facing possibly MJF, the biggest name on that show by the largest amount. So it just doesn't make any sense to the booking standards for me. You know what I'm saying? Like MJF in that sense should be facing Swerve for the title. All this does puts a bad look in my mind for Swerve Strickland. Like, I feel like he's not appreciated as champion because Will Ospreay by far is, one of the best wrestlers there, and his popularity has grown very fast to be, I think, probably the number one, should be the champion at this point. So that's what I'm just not understanding with this entire company, the booking. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. But it's clear as day that Ospreay versus MJF are probably going to face off. But yeah, I'm so confused with what's going on because it goes the pay-per-view PLE goes to these weak shows that have zero build-up for anything. There's a little tiny build-up, and then they have another show pay-per-view, and then that storyline's completely over. Yeah, and then we started a whole different cycle, and none of it ties back into the original, like. Who's going to face Swerve? Your champion, your number one champion. What the hell's going on?
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because it doesn't have to be for the title. MJF does not have to face Will Ospreay at All In for the title. It could just be that Will Ospreay doesn't like that MJF is a bully and he's the bad guy, and Will Ospreay, especially after leaving the Don Callis family on Dynamite, could say, you know what, I'm sick of you coming in here week in, week out and just bullying everybody because you've done it since day one. So I'm going to shut your mouth, and I challenge you to a fight at All In on behalf of Daniel Garcia. J-Bone, do you think that could work? Do you think that MJF could face off with Will Ospreay at All In, beat Will Ospreay, not for the title, but then go on to say, you know what, I kicked Will Ospreay's ass. Swerve, I'm coming for you. I want my title back. Your ass is next.
Well, number one, I gotta agree with Baron as far as like the heel turn happening and it feeling like it was like too rushed. Yeah, it was just a few weeks ago that he came back, it felt like, and it didn't feel
natural, maybe.
Right? Yeah, it just didn't feel like, in the crowd looked to be a little stunned, like, whoa, wait a minute, what? It just, yeah. I mean, because usually when there's a heel turn, the crowd goes just ridiculous. And when he turned on Daniel Garcia, first of all, they kicked him in the nuts, and then he just made him a complete bloody mess. It was like, oh, okay, all right, we got some blood on the show. Congrats. Yeah, it felt rushed. It didn't yeah, okay, we knew it wasn't gonna last, but it was like, geez.
Yeah,
I was really enjoying this. I mean, and I always considered him more of a, riding that fine line between heel and babyface, just because of his snarky attitude and his, charisma in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it felt off. It felt off. But I mean, I'm still looking forward to whatever he's going to do next. So.
Yeah, there's always, like, when there's a turn, there's always, like, there's always signs of a turn happening. I just feel like that return from him coming back into that whole turn of a heel just happened entirely way too fast. We didn't really get any glimpse of why he's turning. Other than we know he's a piece of shit and he's a phenomenal heel. Don't get me wrong, that's not the problem, but it's just he needs some fucking stories, man.
I think there was I completely agree with you, and I think there was a sign when he came out to support Daniel Garcia against his match with Will Ospreay. If you guys caught it, MJF tried to give him a ring to hit Will Ospreay with. Daniel Garcia said, no, I don't want that ring, and gave it back to MJF. MJF's like, okay, cool. And then after he lost, MJF, because of the ring thing, Will Ospreay got the upper hand, won the match, and then MJF came into the ring, said, hey, that's on me. That's totally on me. It's not you. And MJF and Will Ospreay kind of had a face-off, and Will Ospreay left, and that's when MJF turned. So it could be because of the ring. It could be because, and I know that he said that Daniel Garcia is coming up, making a pretty big name for himself in AEW. And maybe the shift of a heel turn could be the fact that, A, you didn't listen to me. You didn't take my advice when I gave it to you, i.e. the ring. You didn't follow my command. So this is why I had to do what I did. That could be the reason. And I understand it's a fast heel turn. I don't know why they're doing it this fast. I don't know why they turned MJF heel so quickly right after a big babyface pop when he made his return. I don't understand it either, but that could be the whole reason why MJF turned heel. Maybe it was something very quickly that he didn't like in Daniel Garcia. I don't know, but this could lead us up to MJF and Will Ospreay at All In on a non-title match.
Unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
That motherfucker should have signed with WWE, MJF. I don't care what anybody says. He should have took that beautiful heel run over there and ran with it, because this entire product is not clicking with me in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to Baron's $9.99 moments. In this regards, Tony Khan, who has been steering the company for better or worse over the past several years, and one of AEW's most pressing issues is the dwindling ratings over time. However, Khan has admitted recently that he needs to focus on doing good shows for AEW. The viewership has seen a decline over the recent years, but the promotion continues to perform strongly over the coveted 18 to 49 demographic, often ranking for the top 5 cable on its respective nights, usually trailing behind major sporting events. As AEW's media rights deal with Warner Brothers Discovery approaches its expiration at the end of this year, negotiations are underway. But interestingly enough, as we've seen previously and discussed numerous times on this show, Tony Khan has admitted that he needs to focus on doing good shows for AEW and not on what the competition is doing, because clearly that's working for WWE. He did mention that while competitors like WWE securing lucrative media rights ahead of AEW could be seen as a challenge, AEW's strong historical performance provides favorable comparisons. So, Baron, do you think that this is a wise move that AEW shifts focus from the competition, namely WWE, and saves their company from possibly going under and losing media rights?
I think they're already too far gone for that one. I think I don't think there's
some credit, man.
What is it that I can give that show credit for right now? As a viewer,
hold on. Every pay-per-view that they have has been really, really stellar versus the TV stuff that they're doing on TBS and TNT. So, I mean, you could at least give them credit for what they're doing on the pay-per-views.
Yeah, I will give them credit for putting out the 5-star matches that in the end mean absolutely nothing when you don't have a story. And this is wrestling. Professional wrestling is not meant for just beautiful 5-star matches. I love them. I love and I appreciate every wrestler, what they do in that ring. If you don't have wrestling, is all about entertainment. It has been since the early, God knows how long when they started. Everybody has, characters for a reason. I think there's plenty of things they could do to like bring it back. I don't want anything to happen to that company. That's not what I'm stating. I just wish, every interview that I see, when it comes to the comparison to WWE, and they're always like, well, they allow us to do things here that they didn't allow us to do over there in the ring, professional, and that's great. But the problem is the casual viewers don't give a fuck about your 5-star match, man. You can hit 17 super kicks. You can do 25 fucking springboard moonsaults, whatever the hell you want to do to, casual viewers don't give a shit about that, man. They want the entertainment. They want the shock value. They want the good wrestling match that comes with all that. There's a package for that deal for a reason. And that's how wrestling has always worked. Go back to the Attitude Era of wrestling. They weren't even putting 1-star matches on these fucking shows, man. Some of the worst wrestling you'll ever see during that period of time. But it didn't matter because they had some of the best stories you'll ever remember. You still remember them to this day. And that's what I think AEW has a problem with. They haven't developed any good storylines to cater to pull in audience. I think, absolutely. They need to stay away from this WWE comparison shit, because 600,000 people watching your show is not anything to compare WWE to. You're not even on the same planet. So I think they definitely need to find some stuff. They need to figure out what the hell's going on with their world champion. They need a face of the company to carry it. Cody Rhodes and CM Punk leaving obviously hurt them a lot more than they want to admit. I hope nothing but the best, and I hope they get it together, but they have to get it together very, very fast, because there's another company that is steamrolling the fuck out of them right now. So Yeah, get it together.
Yeah, I agree with Baron. Honestly, I mean, we've seen this time and time again that AEW has no solid storylines at all, and that is the most beautiful part about this industry, this thing that we all love, which is professional wrestling, is the storylines. We want to know why there's beef. We want to know why there is problems between these two wrestlers and continuing these problems with the wrestlers. Now, I will admit the best storyline that I've seen so far from AEW has probably been Swerve Strickland and when he broke into the house and I can't remember whose house it was. Was it Adam Page? Did he break into Adam Page's house and was standing over his baby's crib and all that? And I think it was Adam Page. I'm not too sure, but
they did some crazy stuff. Yeah, I think that was and that was while Swerve was trying to make his way to the title of Samoa Joe's title. Yeah.
So that is part of a good storyline. That is a good storyline. So,
but I have to disagree that it's the best storyline.
No, I'm not saying it's the.
No, I'm not. You said that to you, it's the best.
I know it's the best so far.
Right. So it's an opinion, and I just want to give mine. I think the best does involve Hangman Adam Page, but it's not that one. It's the one where he was part of the Elite, and then they caused him to lose confidence in himself. And this whole thing played out over, a year and a half, 2 years? They slow built this story. He ended up joining the Dark Order, all because he lost confidence, because the Elite made him think that he was not nearly as good as he was. And then he came back and he won that belt. That was probably one of the best things AEW ever did story-wise, because they were able to slowly work it. They didn't rush it. They took their time, they built it properly, and gave us a proper story.
Yeah.
That was good.
I will agree with that. I mean, there is a lot of potential that AEW could do with regarding storylines and building up these storylines for us to have these matches at pay-per-views. And not every match it has to be a 5-star.
And not every pay-per-view has to have 16 goddamn matches, man. That shit is ridiculous. I don't care.
Also, if you're going to blow up the ring, don't do it with sparklers. That looks like shit.
Yeah. Jim Ross even admitted that the pay-per-views are just way too long. There's too many matches. It's oversaturated. And you look at a pay-per-view like that, and then you look at a PLE like Money in the Bank that only has 5 matches total. There's no pre-matches or anything like that. It's just 5 matches, and that's it. That is the most beautiful thing about what WWE is currently doing, is that you put more thrill with less frill, basically.
Well, yeah, all 5 matches. You know what? All 5 matches have a purpose. They all have had a story for the previous weeks. All 14 matches of AEW, maybe 1 or 2 had a decent story or had a story at all. So this is the difference between a good product and a product that needs a lot of help.
Yeah. So let's keep. Go ahead, J-Bone.
I just want to say, as far as not necessarily storyline, but one thing that AEW is absolutely doing right now, because I want to try to level out the negative with the positive.
Yes,
I'm not saying you guys are wrong. I'm not saying you guys are wrong. No. I'm not saying you guys are wrong, even though you are. No, I'm kidding.
You fucker, you.
I had you. I'm sorry. I've enjoyed this journey of Swerve Strickland, and one thing I've enjoyed the most, believe it or not, is what Swerve has to say after each pay-per-view. When Tony brings him out and the press is talking to Swerve, and Swerve is talking about his journey and his thought process and just the road he's been on and everything, especially go back in this last media scrum. I know everyone's got their own opinions on the media scrums, the controversies, but this last one was actually fun. There was a mix of stuff. Tony Storm was ridiculous. Swerve was great. Mercedes Moné was, bitching it up, whatever. But go check out Swerve's content, that portion from the media scrum. It has sold me between his journey in the ring, and his charisma, and how he connects with the audience through like these media scrums. It has completely sold me as a fan for Swerve. So I'm all aboard on the Swerve Strickland train. And that is one thing that Tony is absolutely doing right in working with Swerve Strickland's team to, have, this person work on this person work on this part for him. It's all like one big group of guys working with Swerve Strickland to just make it all look special,
Yeah.
So
I think it's a big hit and miss with AEW, and this perfectly leads us to our next story, which is a new segment. If Max will get back into the picture here.
I'm right here.
Okay, from the desk. It's from the desk of Max Mages. So I wanted to give this to Max because with the talks of how AEW is doing as far as a company and their storylines and things like that, this brings us into Vince McMahon, formerly a board member of TKO Holdings. We've all heard that he's embroiled in human trafficking lawsuit and is currently one of the most controversial figures in pro wrestling. Despite that, a former WWE star has urged Tony Khan to sign McMahon to AEW. This is one of the biggest topics of discussion currently in pro wrestling, and is definitely the idea of Shane McMahon possibly making his way to AEW. Even Tony Khan also made it clear that Shane McMahon is more than welcome in the company. However, no one has ever thought possibly having Vince McMahon make his way to AEW. Now, while speaking on the Stevie Richards show, the former WWE star stated that Vince McMahon would be a great signing for AEW. So from the desk of Max Mages, let's dive into the mind of our neighborhood heel on this story. Do you think that Shane McMahon should be brought into AEW? Do you think that Vince McMahon should be brought into AEW? Because we've heard in the past that Vince is keen on starting his own wrestling company to compete with WWE. Now, with that being said, do you think that he should be brought into the AEW role of fold and kind of take over?
All right, let's start with Shane. Shane is not a horrible idea to bring in. He knows enough about the business that he might actually improve things for Tony Khan if Tony Khan chooses to listen. The problem with Vince, though, is, number one, you got the legal issues going on, and no matter how those shake out, that's going to leave a dark stain on him. And I think you're already in a bad enough position that you probably don't want to make it worse. On the other hand, even though Vince is a little out of touch with the times, he does know this business. Feasibly, he could help you improve things. Personally, I would give Vince McMahon a hands-off role, but I'm not the only one who has an opinion, as we've discussed. So before I go any further, I do have a question for you guys. How stupid is Vince Russo?
Well, we've all pretty much come to the agreement that Vince Russo is all about Vince Russo, and there's nothing other than Vince Russo that exists in this world that we call professional wrestling of Vince Russo, bro.
Listen, let's go back in time. Okay.
Bro.
When Vince Russo's stuff was original and he was doing it for the first time, he wasn't so bad. But when he went to WCW and tried to recycle all of it and do it all again, I will admit that Judy Bagwell on a pole was actually not that bad. But most of that stuff was recycled from what he tried to do in WWE. And he does that everywhere he goes. And then he claims that he's more talented than 80% of the people in that company. Dude, have you looked at your own work? But this is not the point. The point is this man actually thinks that Vince and Shane may be looking to buy AEW. Looking to buy the product that's already been mishandled by Tony Khan so that Vince can possibly mishandle it further. Is there any intelligence in this idea?
It's hilarious what we just went to. So I was originally asked, do you think AEW should step away from acknowledging WWE as a whole? And the next segment we bring up, well, Vince and Shane might be coming to AEW. I don't know what the hell's going on, but like that could be the worst possible scenario, like thing that they could do. Like, and I think this is just slow media day where they like to continually bring out topics that are probably never going to happen because it's just not going to happen. They're not going to buy AEW. There's not enough stock value in AEW in order for someone like them to buy it. I don't think
I think Baron makes a really good point. Okay. We're just talking about how, AEW should shift its focus from WWE. But what are we doing? We're talking about the possibility of Shane going to the company, which, as far as I know, Shane's not expressed any interest. This was a rumor started by probably Uncle Dave, and Tony ran with it and said, hey, if he wants to come in, I'd be happy with that. Then we're getting rumors from Vince Russo that Vince McMahon might be buying the company. The outsiders are not helping you shift your focus from WWE, Tony, but neither are you. Because let's talk about your signings. You just brought in Mercedes Moné. How smart is that if you need to shift your focus from WWE? Her most notable achievement was working for the WWE. Edge. I love Edge. Edge is one of my favorite wrestlers in the entire wrestling business. But what's he best known for? Working for WWE. Moxley. Before he went back to being Moxley, what was he best known for? Part of the Shield in WWE. I could go on all day with this because your roster is stacked. Huh?
Mercedes Moné.
Well, she was the first one I mentioned.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
we could go on all day and list everybody on the roster that is best known for their time in WWE. But why? I think we've made our point that if you're going to shift the focus, you should really start developing more stars like MJF. Okay, I mean that guy was not WWE. He maybe wanted to be WWE, but he made his name with you. He made his name with AEW. Made himself something special in AEW. That's the type of person you need to go after. You need to build your own stars like Vince did. And as much as I hate talking about Vince and giving him credit for stuff, he did. He built stars. Undertaker, Razor Ramon, Diesel. Yeah, they did better as Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. Don't get me wrong. But they wouldn't have been in a position to do better as Scott Hall and Kevin Nash if Vince hadn't built them as well as he did in the WWE.
Yeah. At least I will say this, as far as people coming over from WWE, someone like Tony Storm has completely evolved into something like you look at what Tony Storm's doing now in AEW and you almost forget that she actually came from WWE. But WWE basically didn't do a whole lot of anything with her. So what Tony Storm's doing now, this is the heart and soul of her career right now. She's turning heads. She's doing some slightly controversial things with what she says, but it's still turning heads, and the wrestling is tremendous. I love the image, and that's what, if you are going to bring people over from WWE, put a new twist on it. Like Moxley was the best example of that. He used to be Dean Ambrose, but that was a PG version of Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley, if anybody knew what Jon Moxley was like in the Indies, man, look out. He was someone that was going to blow your company up and, burn the bridges behind him. And that's what Moxley is still doing to this day. He's one of the most badass guys on the planet. And, it's like, you gotta freshen things up, put a new spin on it, give him a new gimmick or something.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. There's a lot that needs to happen. I just go back to the original topic at hand and separate yourself from another promotion, create your own. I think they have phenomenal wrestlers on that show. There's no doubt about that. Like that, right? Will Ospreay, even though he does the same thing every single match, it does. We have a lot of wrestlers that do that, but it's phenomenal to watch. I think it's great. You just, however, need to focus on doing some in-house building for sure.
Right. Well, let's shift away from WWE for just a moment because we got a lot more WWE news to talk about. Plus, we're going to give our predictions for the upcoming Money in the Bank. Let's talk Triller. Triller and Fight TV. Recent allegations have surfaced against the popular fight and wrestling streaming giant. The platform hosts a lot of pro wrestling content, including AEW, as well as a lot of different indie promotions. And Isaac Rodriguez, the promoter for Violence and Suffering, which I've never heard of Violence and Suffering. I don't know what it is, but he is taking to social media to claim that Triller and Fight TV have not paid him for events that streamed on their service months ago. He had a lot to say in his post. Rodriguez expressed frustrations over the situation, stating that it's been months since their last show and the promotions that helped the platform thrive and still waiting on payments. He mentioned that this issue is not exclusive to just his company, as multiple promoters have confirmed that they have not received any form of payout since January. Rodriguez emphasized that this has led some companies to move away from the platform to build their own. The last Violence and Suffering event aired on Triller and Fight on February 23rd. Notably, AEW has been running a ton, every single pay-per-view of theirs on that service, adding to the significance of these allegations. So it leads me to ask, is AEW getting paid to host their, and I don't know how this whole pay-per-view thing works. I would assume that these companies have to pay Triller and Fight, but does Triller and Fight have to pay these companies too? What's going on with that? The man that I know that might know a little bit more about this is Max Magis, and that's a decent question. I'm not sure what is going on here. So Max, what are your thoughts on this, man?
I really don't know much about Triller prior to this whole conversation that we started a couple days ago about this situation. But if somebody owes them money, they should probably pay them money. I just seems like that's the right thing to do. I mean, when Vince owed money to one of the TV stations, he either had to pay it or lose his TV deal. He paid it, kept his TV deal. I don't understand why this has become such a question. If you owe them money, give them the money you owe them. It's like when wrestlers weren't getting paid in a company that I won't mention because I don't want to butt heads with a good friend of mine again. But when the wrestlers were stating they weren't getting their paychecks down in the South at one point, if you owe them money, give them their money. They're out there busting their butts for you night in and night out. I don't understand how hard that is.
Yeah.
I tell you, from Fight turning into Triller.
Is that what it was?
Fight turned into Triller somewhere within the last couple of years. It's been a transition, and that certainly doesn't shine a very good light on Triller for being the new owner of this website. I give him credit for putting a lot of different new content on there, but yeah, you got to pay your people. What did you say? The company that was
what's the question,
company
Jay?
that was the company that had the issue. Who was that? Did you say?
It was Violence and Suffering is what this company, this promoter is saying that Triller is accused of dodging payments to pro wrestling companies. So
Violence and Suffering. I'm like,
I
God,
have
that
never.
happens in.
Is that the ICP Juggalo promotion? What is that? Violence and Suffering.
I have no
I'm
idea.
gonna have to look this up. Violence.
Violence X Suffering is how they embroider label themselves.
That's got to be a new one.
I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of it. Yeah,
I know that GCW has a lot of pay-per-views on Triller and Fight, along with a lot of other promotions. Along with other indie promotions that use their use Triller and Fight TV to host their pay-per-view events. So I have never heard of this Violence and Suffering promotion. I don't even know where it's from.
So they're out of New York. Owned by Isaac Rodriguez, Orlando Fernandez, Pinky Sanchez.
So is it a ripoff of ECW? Maybe
it looks like an extreme kind of underground wrestling promotion. It looks like some familiar faces have been on it according to their Instagram. Sammy Callahan's been on there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Leo Rush is on here as well. So it looks like some big names have been on it. So it's a bigger promotion.
We'll have to keep an eye on Triller and this whole Triller Fight TV thing, but AEW has not said anything about Triller dodging payments to AEW for their pay-per-views. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it, and if we hear anything about it, we will definitely bring it to another show. Let's focus topics on back to WWE, and then we're going to send our predictions out for Money in the Bank that is coming up very soon. Just on the skirts of Vice TV's Who Killed WCW mini docuseries, which, by the way, if you've not seen the docuseries, go watch it. It's so good. The fall of WCW continues to be a significant topic in the wrestling community, with various factors contributing to its demise. Now, despite this, WWE has been reintroducing many elements from WCW into their current programming. Interestingly enough, they may revive more classic WCW pay-per-views in the future. As previously reported, the company secured a new trademark for an old WCW pay-per-view event, Super Brawl. The event was a major part of the programming at WCW from 91 to 2001. The inaugural main event featured Ric Flair and Tatsumi Fujinami for the WCW and NWA World Heavyweight Championships, while the final show saw Scott Steiner face Kevin Nash in a retirement match for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Now, between the four of us on this show, we grew up with WCW. We know WCW like the back of our hands. We know all the pay-per-views that they had, Bash at the Beach, Super Brawl, War Games, and the list goes on and on. So are you guys excited for a possible WWE version of Super Brawl? We'll start with J-Bone.
Yeah, I'm always one to, check out some nostalgia. Depends on how they book it. You can't just throw a name on something. It's got to have some kind of feel to it. It's got to be in a place where, in a city where the history was, So there's got to be some substance to it, but yeah, I'm good with that. I have noticed that they have taken some classic pay-per-view titles and thrown them on the NXT brand, which I think is interesting. And if anything, yeah, it's going to just bring some more eyes and be like, oh, like I can't remember like the one that's happening on Sunday is what, Heat Wave? Now is that an old
yeah, they had Heat Wave was it was I think wasn't it a WCW one?
I'm not.
I knocked my mic off. I looked it up the other day because I was actually curious, and I do believe it was.
Is your mic under the influence, sir?
Well, I'm under the influence, so that's half the problem.
ECW. Yeah. So I love.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I love that they're bringing back these old names for pay-per-views for WWE and NXT. I'm glad that's they're reviving that. I mean, we saw, didn't we see a few pay-per-views come up from WWE that were formerly WCW? Didn't we have a recent War Games not too long ago?
I mean, we've done War Games. That's when Orton and Punk made their return. But NXT had War Games for a while before that. We have seen in the past, we've seen the Great American Bash as a WWE pay-per-view, which got its start WCW. Night of Champions was a WCW pay-per-view. They also had Clash of the Champions, which I'm kind of hoping that one comes back. Fall Brawl was War Games at one point. I do want to see World War III again, because that was, if you've never seen a WCW World War III, so much chaos, but so much fun at the same time. Uncensored, Starrcade, Super Brawl, some of these were just, I mean, they were pretty awesome. But if I'm being honest, the one I want to see come to WWE the most is Sold Out. That was my favorite. That was WCW's version of Raw versus SmackDown. It was WCW versus NWO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we've seen numerous different pay-per-views being revived, the old names for definitely for NXT. And, I think this has been a big shift of focus since Trips has taken the reins at WCW. Baron, are you excited for possible revivals of old WCW pay-per-view names?
Well, yeah, when you buy your competition, you're allowed to use whatever the hell you want from them. However, if they're going to Super Brawl back, better make a new WCW WWE Super Brawl game. I don't know if you guys remember that game from the Super Nintendo days at all, but WCW had Super Brawl, and I would love a remake of that. That'd be great. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. I think it's fun. I think there's also, now obviously this is speculation, but they we're talking about bringing like Bad Blood back and stuff like that, which was another big WWE pay-per-view. So I've seen them talking about that. Yeah, as long as it makes sense and we're not going to add, a pay-per-view every other week, I'm down.
Yeah.
I definitely want the Triple Cage back.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I loved War Games, and I definitely love Sold Out. I think that would be a good pay-per-view to bring back. I don't know who you could pit against, who versus who, since there's really not. I mean, you could do WWE versus NXT, but I don't really know if that would be anybody interested. If anybody would be interested in watching that, but if you could bring back maybe a faction versus a faction, a big faction versus big faction.
I'm my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think like the biggest one that would be awesome to watch again I think it was called Cyber Invasion, right? Where they had the fans vote. Obviously, it's probably predetermined, but like the fans vote for like the match stipulation and all that. I think that'd be cool as hell, especially with the social media era that's going on now and getting all people involved.
The first one was actually called Taboo Tuesday.
Taboo Tuesday. Yeah.
And it happened in my town, Milwaukee.
Nice.
And I was actually at that one. Every once in a while, I'll rewatch that one because it was such a different time and the different stars were so,
I got that name wrong.
It was called Cyber Sunday. It was called Cyber Sunday. They did do Taboo Tuesday, but they renamed it to Cyber Sunday. So I think Taboo Tuesday was wasn't that just a regular weekly show that they had on network TV? And
no, it was an actual pay-per-view they did twice. They did 2 Taboo Tuesdays, and then they turned it into Cyber Sunday because they're like, no, we can't do a pay-per-view on. I don't know why they did it on Tuesday. It was weird, but they did.
I think it'd be dope to come back, especially with like the interaction with social media you have now. Have them voting for like stipulations, and I think it'd be cool.
I think that's an excellent idea. I think that if anybody were to do that, you know, and if they want to continue this whole speed thing on X, if they're going to do Cyber Sunday or anything like that, I think they should do it on X. Blip News, Taboo Tuesday sounds like a porn name. Yeah, well,
I think that's where they got the name from.
Yeah. I wasn't. I mean, that would be perfect if Val Venus was on Taboo Tuesday. But that wraps up the news portion. Let's move on to our predictions. Now, before we do our predictions, do want to promote one thing that we're going to do the review show later tonight. That is going to be on the YouTube channel for Smash This Podcast. So make sure you
follow that.
So go make sure you search Smash This Podcast on YouTube, subscribe to it, hit the bell icon, and then you'll know when we're going live. We're also going to be live on our Facebook page for Ramblers Unleashed. So it's a co-promotion. I love this. Smash This Podcast and Ramblers Unleashed. So we'll be on live on our Facebook page, Ramblers Unleashed. Go to the Facebook page. The link is in the description below. Like the page, follow the page, and then we'll be live there so you can watch us there and you can watch us on YouTube on Smash This Podcast. And I love that idea. I love that idea. So with that being said, let us start our predictions for WWE Money in the Bank live from Toronto. This is going to be one hell of a PLE. I'm just saying. 5 matches. Let's start off with.
Did you say 5?
5. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Let's start off with the first match that I have here: Jey Uso versus Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade versus Chad Gable versus LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre for the Money in the Bank ladder match for a men's championship match contract. We will start with the Baron. Who do you think is going to get that Money in the Bank?
Man, I don't know, but it's going to be one fucking crazy good match. There's a lot of names in here that I think every single one of these guys deserve to win. Like, I don't even know how you begin to pick somebody. I think the Drew McIntyre story is going to be interesting. I think he's going to get fucked over again by CM Punk. There's no way around that. Dude, it's got to be LA Knight, right? I'm going with LA Knight. I think he deserves it. He needs it. Just like everybody else on that match. But I think he's going to be the one that comes out.
Yeah.
Okay. Max Magus, who do you have? Do you have Jey Uso, Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, Chad Gable, LA Knight, Drew McIntyre? Who do you pick?
I got a clarification question first. Are we PG-13? Because if so, we only get one F-bomb, and I was planning on using an F-bomb when I gave my pick for the men's ladder match.
Use the F-bomb. Screw it. Fuck it. I'll start it off for you.
Here's my thing. I want Jey Uso to win this. I'd be okay with LA Knight winning this. I think what they're going to do is I think they're going to have Drew McIntyre win it so that when he cashes in and doesn't win because CM Punk gets involved, Drew McIntyre can fucking whine and cry and blame everybody else for his mistakes again. And that's not really a knock because I actually am a huge fan of Drew McIntyre. I'm just not a fan of this whiny gimmick that they've got him in right now. So that's my pick. I think Drew McIntyre is going to win the Money in the Bank.
Okay. J-Bone.
I know and then Heyman comes back with CM Punk and screw. No, I don't know. Gosh, yeah, this is a tough one. I like a lot of guys in this match. I'd say about 4 out of the 5 or 4 out of the 6, excuse me, definitely have potential. There's a lot going on with Chad Gable and this whole thing with the Wyatt 6 kind of looming behind him. Are they going to sneak in this match? Are they going to screw him? or are they going to help him? And then you got guys like, Yeet in the Bank, like the poster of the cover of this video. He's got a lot of momentum. He was the first one to throw his hat in there. And a few of you guys chose LA Knight. McIntyre certainly is a big boss in this match. It's tough, man. I'm gonna pick. Oof. I'm gonna pick LA Knight.
Yeah.
I figured you were gonna sway over to LA Knight's side. I really did, because you were an LA Knight guy.
It's either that or Jey Uso. I feel like Jey Uso has had a lot of good stuff happen to him since he broke away from his tag team of the Usos. Mm-hmm. But he's been, he gets opportunities, but he always loses. So yeah, it's either LA Knight or Yeet in the Bank.
How the hell is he in Toronto, anyways?
Let's dive into it. Why is he in?
How is he? Yeah, how is he?
No,
he's got felony charges, just like Jacob Fatu. So I'm not entirely sure how he's able.
Are you sure? Are you sure that now? I always get this confused. I know Jimmy's had a lot of trouble. Has Jay too?
I thought so too. I thought he had a couple DUIs as well. I could be wrong.
But DUI doesn't necessarily equal felony.
It was Jimmy who got the DUI. It wasn't Jay.
Hold on. Let's see here.
This is Jimmy Uso arrested on charge after traffic stop allegedly had a blood alcohol content of 0.205.
Well, there's been a few of them.
But in 2018, Jay also got arrested.
Jey Uso was arrested as well.
DWI, driving while intoxicated in 2018 in Texas. So, I guess that may not be a felony. I don't know.
But, yeah, DUI does not always equate as a felony. Part of that is it depends on how many you have. And I would say Jimmy has at least reached the felony level, whereas I think Jay figured it out pretty quick after the first arrest or two.
Yeah. So, with that, I don't think that Jay will walk away with the Money in the Bank contract. I really don't. The only two people that I personally think could walk away with the Money in the Bank briefcase is either LA Knight or Drew McIntyre, because I think they're going to put Chad Gable up against Uncle Howdy. And since they're trying to build that with the Wyatt Six, I think that Chad Gable is going to at some point come face to face with Uncle Howdy. So this could only be LA Knight or Drew McIntyre. And, Max is right. They've had this storyline with Drew that he comes out and he cries and he complains and he moans. He's a good heel for that. I think that, and I don't know if CM Punk has been spotted backstage of Money in the Bank as of yet, but I think I personally think CM Punk will come back out and screw McIntyre to get revenge on what happened to him on SmackDown, and I think LA Knight is going to walk away with the Money in the Bank contract.
Yeah. Drew McIntyre does not need the title in any way, shape, or form to further what's going on. Him and CM Punk are doing some pretty legendary shit with their storyline.
Yeah.
So I think
let's build that. Yeah. Well, let's keep building that storyline, because I think everybody is invested in that. Not only because is it CM Punk, but it's also Drew McIntyre, who really hasn't had a good storyline as of late. So this has been really, really good storyline between Drew and CM Punk. Let's move on to the second Money in the Bank ladder match for a women's championship match contract featuring Io Sky, Chelsea Green, Lyra Valkyria, and I probably butchered that name again, Max, Tiffany Stratton, and Naomi and Zoe Stark. Max, just so you can correct me, I will start with you first.
Her name is Lyra Valkyria.
Thank you.
And she actually, I would love to see her win this. Absolutely. And that's nothing against Tiffany, because I'd love to see Tiffany win too, but I don't think that's who we're going with. I don't think Zoe's getting this. I think she's worthy, Not unlike some other people I've talked to recently about this match. I think she's worthy. I just don't think she's going to win this. I think it's coming down to either Chelsea Green or Naomi. And honestly, I'm thinking they're going to go with Chelsea Green. And I've stated this before. I think that a Chelsea Green run with that briefcase would be very entertaining. The only downside is Chelsea said that when she wins the briefcase and when she cashes in and wins the title, she is going to petition to change the name back to the Divas Championship. No. I don't want to see us go backwards and rename it that. However, I think it's interesting and entertaining coming from Chelsea Green because she's the only one that can make a threat like that actually seem entertaining. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with Chelsea Green on this one.
And see, I think I'm going to go against the grain. I think I personally think Tiffany Stratton will go and make this a big thing. Isn't Tiffany Stratton with what's her name? The big chick. Is she with Nia?
Nia.
Okay,
she's been going backstage to Nia and saying, "Hey, I can help you. We can be friends and we can work together." And then Nia came out to help her last week on SmackDown.
Okay.
Yeah, so, she became one of the people in the match. Yeah. So I think Tiffany Stratton could get this, especially with the significant push that she's been getting. I mean, Chelsea Green is a good one. I think that Tiffany. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do two. I think either Chelsea Green or Tiffany Stratton could win this. But I do agree with Max. I don't want them to turn. I don't want Chelsea, if she does win this contract and she goes on to win the belt, I don't want them to turn it back into a Divas thing. Baron, let's go with you, man.
Yeah. Well, that's just Chelsea Green being Chelsea Green. So there's no way that's possibly happening. But I agree with Max, and I think Chelsea Green would be the most entertaining out of this. And Blip just kind of brought up my entire point. I don't think Tiff needs the briefcase. I think I think she can make it there without the briefcase. The briefcase is always, in my mind, someone that needs to be elevated up. That's who they give the briefcase to. They don't need to give someone that's already elevated at that point. I think Tiff is already there. So for the funsies, I will say I'm going with Chelsea Green on this one.
Okay, so Chelsea Green saith the Baron. J-Bone, what about you, brother?
Yeah, this is tough. I agree with a few of those. I think it's definitely looking. If I had to pick, it's impossible for me to pick one. So I'm gonna pick two here. I think I gotta pick Chelsea Green because she's got some significant backup when it comes to Piper Niven being in her corner, and she's gonna get involved in this. I don't think there's no way she doesn't get involved in this, Yeah. She could absolutely clobber the shit out of most of these girls. Love Piper Niven. And but I think Tiffy Time is definitely one that's coming up in the division and has a lot of talent.
Yeah.
And it's tough. I mean, I like Zoe Stark. I think she's got a great chance too. She's really been shining some talent. I love to see Naomi back in the company. She looks great. Yeah. I miss her in TNA, but it is what it is. But I still support her. But I gotta go with Tiffy Time or the Hot Mess.
Okay, I think Blip has a good train of thought going here. Divas title would create a storyline for someone to win it back from her to turn it back into an actual title. That would kind of be interesting just to, build up the diva or the women's division in WWE. I hate even calling it a diva, but we'll have to see. But it's either way, it's going to be match of the night, possibly match of the night number 2 versus the Money in the Bank men's championship match. Match of the night number 3 for me personally. I think, and we're gonna see a lot of these match of the nights. Damian Priest versus Seth freaking Rollins for a last chance match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, if Priest wins, Rollins can never challenge for the title again as long as Priest is champion. And if Rollins wins, Priest has to leave the Judgment Day. So we're going to go with J-Bone. Who do you think is going to walk away with the World Heavyweight Championship? Do you think it will be Rollins, or do you think it's going to be Priest?
Oh God, I love the stipulations in this, but it really makes you feel like it could go either way in this. I'd love to see Seth back as champ, but I also like Damian Priest and his journey. I feel like he needs to be champ without the Judgment Day. There's so much turmoil going on. It's really.
If I may add another factor to your consideration, and this goes for all of you, it may be Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins, with Seth is no longer allowed to challenge for a title as long as Damian holds it, or Damian leaves Judgment Day. But remember, no matter what the outcome is, next month, the winner has to face Gunther. So that should factor into how you think about this match.
That's tough too, because he's just waiting in the wings like Nia Jax is.
Good point, Max.
Oh man,
that's my job.
You know what? I'm gonna go with one of my old favorites. I'm gonna go with Rollins.
Okay, all right. Honestly, I think we haven't seen the end of the Judgment Day as of yet. I think that personally, I think Damian Priest will retain this championship match, and that does mean that Rollins can never challenge a title again for as long as Priest is champion. So it could happen that Priest wins tonight and then goes on to face Gunther, loses against Gunther due to a Judgment Day mishap, and then Gunther wins, and then we go on to see Rollins and Gunther. So I'm going to go with Damian Priest on this. I'm going to go with Damian Priest wins and retains the championship for that to happen. That's what I want to see. Let's go with the Baron.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw some weird shit out there and see if it sticks. Maybe because I don't see either one of those happening. Seth not being able to compete for the title anymore, or Damian leaving Judgment Day. I think this could be like a total blackout scenario where like White 6 comes in and like interferes or does some shit to the match, so it's not a completed match or something along those lines.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential for that
because I just don't see either one of those options panning out or working. And when it comes to Gunther, I think Gunther's winning no matter what, and I think it would be more believable for Gunther to beat the shit out of Damian Priest than Seth Rollins. So I think there might be some shenanigans in this match, and I don't want to see anybody cash in that briefcase right away. I know, Drew McIntyre said if he won, he's going to do that. I don't see him winning. But I like when people kind of hold on to that for quite some time. So I guess I'll go with like Damian Priest retains, but I do believe some shit's happening in this match to where there's not an actual winner of the match.
Yeah, I think I kind of hope that Damian Priest backstage tells the Judgment Day to stay out of it. He doesn't need them. Max, what say you, man?
And listen, I enjoy listening to you guys' ideas because sometimes they're great as your thoughts on this match have been, and sometimes they're not so great, but they're still entertaining to hear. And you guys have put forth some really good ideas on this match. But I got to say, at the end of the day, I really think what's going to happen, I think Seth wins. I think Damian leaves the Judgment Day, but the Judgment Day doesn't end. I think we see the Judgment Day evolve. Remember, they've always said that there's no leader in the Judgment Day, and ever since Rhea's been out, Damian's been trying to act like the leader of Judgment Day. So I think they're just as tired of him as Seth is of him being part of Judgment Day. So I think Seth wins, Damian leaves, and we see Judgment Day become something new. Now, if the rumors are true that Rhea's backstage, we could see an explosive element for that take place tonight. And I'm kind of looking forward to finding out whether she's really in Toronto or not, like the tweet said.
That is something that we will have to keep in the back of our minds. And I mean, if Rhea truly is backstage for Money in the Bank, then that changes a lot of what happens with the Judgment Day. So we'll have to see, man. Let's move on to the next one. Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker, singles match for the Intercontinental Championship. J-Bone, this has been hyped up pretty well by the WWE between Sammy and Breaker. Who do you got, man?
I gotta go with Breaker. Because he's on such a road with momentum right now. I was quick looking. I'm like, shit, is this the last match? But no, there's the six-man tag that we gotta cover still. But yeah, I mean, and I love Sami Zayn. He's great. I'm glad he's champ. But man, Braun Breaker is just tearing a whole new path, and he's I feel bad for Sami Zayn. I really do. I do, because man, few spears, man, and Sami Zayn's gonna leave bald. Shit.
Yeah, I know it. It's gonna be a good match. Baron, your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, it's gonna be a good match. I think Braun Breaker's just gonna squash the fuck out of him. That's what I want.
Max.
Squash match. Just beat the shit out of him. 5 seconds. Done.
Yeah.
Listen, we're going to see a little bit of a back and forth to begin with, but then Sammy's going to powder out of the ring. Braun's going to go out the other side, and before Sammy can blink, even though we saw Sammy step out of the way on Monday, Braun's going to pull it off this time, spear him outside in the blink of an eye, get him back in, he's going to win, and then we're not going to have Sammy for a little while, but that's okay, because then we have a spot on the roster, and our good friend El Generico will make his debut finally in WWE. But yeah, I'm going Braun for the win.
I think this is going to be. I think this is going to be a squash match between Sammy and Braun. As we've seen, Braun has just been absolutely explosive on the SmackDown roster, pretty much decimating anybody that comes into his way. And I think Sammy is just his next victim on this, and for the Intercontinental Championship. And since Braun is getting a big push, I'm going to say Braun Breaker is the new Intercontinental Championship or champion, which leads us to the last match, triple threat match between Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens. And interestingly, the Bloodline. Now, any of these three could be it. Okay, so we could see Solo, we could see Tama, and we could see Tonga, or we could see Solo. Either one of the two, Tonga or Tama, or Jacob Fatu. So I know that there's some stipulations going on with Jacob Fatu. Max, I'm going to start it off with you, because Jacob Fatu has some legal problems, and that can carry over into Canada as far as him being able to actually perform, correct?
So, unfortunately, at the age of 18, Jacob Fatu got picked up for armed robbery, as we discussed last week, and that is a felony. And Canada has a rule. They don't let felons in. Now, for an entertainment thing, I'm sure there's a possibility that the WWE could negotiate something to get him in for the show. But I know that the average person is not allowed to cross with a felony. And I know, not to bring politics into this, but as long as things stand the way they are, Trump is currently a convicted felon, and he wouldn't be allowed into Canada either. I don't want to get into anything around that. I'm just stating the current situation. So
you didn't even have to bring Trump into this, man. You could have just said,
let's keep it. I'm also trying to point out that it's not just like a you or me situation. I know it extends to higher levels. That's the point. I'm not trying to get into the discussion around it. So Jacob Fatu is probably not going to be allowed into Canada. That means you got Solo and the Guerrillas of Destiny taking on Cody and RKO. And I think I'm sending you guys something in the messenger chat before I state this. I think tonight we are going to see the new wise man to the bloodline. And I think you're going to be surprised by who it is. Now, I have not seen the WWE confirm this, but this man not only had a connection to Umaga, he has a connection to Jacob Fatu and could feasibly be the replacement wise man. If that's the case, the new wise man showing up tonight for the 6-man tag could shift things in the Bloodline's favor. So I'm going with the Bloodline winning thanks to the outside interference of Armando Alejandra Estrada.
I love it. I love it.
Led up to that to just, oh my God. Okay. Baron, please, for the love of fuck, do not bring up politics on a goddamn wrestling show. Baron,
no, it's all right. You know, politics are everywhere at this point in time.
No. We're not discussing politics on this show.
I'm going with the Bloodline. I don't see how they got to build them up to be a little bit stronger. I don't think there's going to be a new mouthpiece or anything. I just don't see that happening. But maybe a couple more, debuts of a couple other people coming into this match. I think they got to build up the Bloodline a little bit stronger. Beating the hell out of these three would be a good one. I think it'll be a fun match to watch. I don't want to see Cody win this at all.
I think for the Bloodline, I think what Max has brought up as far as the new mouthpiece or as the new wise man, I think that would be smart because I don't believe Solo is strong enough yet on the mic to do any talking. I don't think any of these guys are strong enough on the mic to do any of these talking besides Jacob Fatu, who
possibly. Would you trust Fatu on the mic?
No, not really.
Not as much as we trust Max on the mic, but you know what?
No. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Hey, wait. In my defense, I am not the first one to drop an F-bomb on this show. Yes, I was the second, but I was not the first.
Oh, no. I will take that blame gladly. I will take that blame gladly. Because, it's I think that the Bloodline is going to win. I actually like where Max went with it. With the new wise man, I think the Bloodline is going to go over on this because honestly, I'm with the Baron. I don't want to see Cody or Randy or Kevin win this, and I know that Kevin is still dealing with the fact that his mom is in the hospital and all that. So speedy recovery to Kevin's mom, but I don't see Kevin, Randy, or Cody beating the Bloodline. I think Bloodline is the push is way too strong for them, especially that end promo on SmackDown where Solo called out Roman Reigns. Oh man, that was good.
Yeah, that was good.
So I think the Bloodline will go over, and I think we're going to see Solo, Tama, and Tonga as part of this match. J-Bone.
Yeah, I got to go with Bloodline on this one. I think if we're going to see any new faces, if we can't get a Jacob Fatu in the company, or in across the border into Canada, excuse me, we definitely could see the debut of Hikuleo, who is just he just towers over his brothers. And if you haven't seen any of his stuff, he's done plenty in New Japan, and he also had a It was a cup of coffee in TNA when they were doing some New Japan stuff and some Bloodline, or not Bloodline, Jiminy Christmas, Bullet Club stuff. And yeah, I'd love to see him over there. But yeah, Bloodline's definitely taking this one. They're on a roll, and there's more surprises to be had, and they've got a. I like the way they're building this up. You know, it's all breadcrumbs. It's like they come in, they're making the group bigger, they're adding people, then they're starting the whole acknowledge me thing. They got rid of Paul Heyman, and it's all to build up the return of Roman Reigns somewhere down the line. We don't know exactly when or where. A lot of people are saying SummerSlam or whatever. But yeah.
I think this match is going to be a clusterfuck. I really do. I really think that something is going to happen that people are just going to try to interfere, and I don't know. I'm not particularly excited about the main event. I get why it's a main event, but I think it's just going to be. I think there's going to be too much interference that happens on this. So that is the prediction show for us. I'm not sure where Baron went. Maybe I wonder if Liv kidnapped
Mama
him.
Owens, you're in our thoughts, and don't worry, we will not let Russo put you on a poll.
Oh, for the love of fuck, no. So that is the prediction show for Money in the Bank 2024. That starts, I believe, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Mountain time starts when, Max?
5 p.m.
5 p.m. And here, J-Bone, I believe it starts at 6, 7.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Go to our Facebook page, Ramblers Unleashed, and give us a like, give us a follow, because we are going to simulcast our review show for Money in the Bank on Smash This Podcast YouTube page and our Facebook page at Ramblers Unleashed. Nice little co-brand there for a review show for Money in the Bank. So again, go subscribe to Smash This Podcast on YouTube, and then go to Facebook, give our page a follow, and like us, and watch on either stream, whichever stream you prefer, whether you're a Facebook or a YouTuber. The more the merrier, we always say. So that will come up right about 30 minutes after the PLE goes off the air. We'll be live on both the Ramblers Facebook page, Ramblers Unleashed, and on Smash This Podcast. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you can join us. And I'm not sure where the Baron went.
I have an answer to your question. He pulled the internet so the RBI wouldn't catch him sneaking out to go back to that basement.
Okay, I gotcha.
But seriously, he bumped the internet.
Okay, well, until he comes back, he can follow the Baron on all the socials on X. Jordan Scumbag Jordan with 3 N's. He's our scumbag. And Max Magus, how can they follow you, sir?
You can find the wrestling stuff at Max Magus. You can find my nerdy stuff at Our Shots Podcast. And please, please, please enjoy the story. Don't rush the story. Sit back. I don't care what company you're seeing. Enjoy the story that's being presented. All
right, J-Bone.
You can follow me over on that Twitter box at JBone5150. That's JAYBONE 5150. You can also follow me over on that other little podcast called Total Nonstop Impact. And as you'll see later tonight when we're covering Money in the Bank, Smash This Podcast. So I got my hands in a lot of different things. And I also got to say that this show blew our numbers out of the water as far as people being live and streaming us. So thank you very much. Over 300 people live for the show today and some new subs. So just share the show. smash that like button, smash that sub button, so you know when we go live every it's typically every Saturday, but then we throw some extras in there, as you'll see later tonight. Thank you so much. It makes me proud of what we're doing. I love these guys, so thank you.
If I'm fired today, I'll miss you, viewers.
We're really happy that the numbers are currently up. We're up to 191 subscribers. So again, thank you to you who have watched this, and we certainly do appreciate you for coming to our channel. If you're new here, giving us a shot and subscribing if you liked what you heard. Again, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon here on YouTube for more videos and for more live content. And we try to go live as much as possible with news and with reviews and with predictions. Later on tonight, again, we will be reviewing this show, Money in the Bank 2024, on Smash This Podcast and on our Facebook page at Ramblers Unleashed. You can also find us on X at The Ramblers Pod. And please, again, subscribe, tell your friends, hit the bell icon, and you'll know every time that we go live. And please, love professional wrestling, get involved with the stories, enjoy professional wrestling as a whole. And until later tonight, right after Money in the Bank 2024 goes off the air, we will talk to you then. All right, take care. Enjoy Money in the Bank. See you.
Thanks for tuning in to Ramblers Unleashed. Follow the show on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click the bell icon for notifications of upcoming episodes.